Richard Garwin, National Academy Committee on International Security and Arms Control. Thanks very much for the frank and competent replies. At the back end of the fuel cycle, is the IAEA ready to certify repositories for spent fuel, mined geologic repositories, and waste forms, either spent fuel itself or vitrified fission product packages to go into those repositories to enable different countries to offer such repository services?
Yes, we are, Professor Garwin. I think we would be ready to that. I mean, the good news, as I said, that Russia is ready to man such a multinational repository. Frankly, the way I see it, that we need all to help Russia, doing this by providing the technology, by providing the certification, by providing the safety assistance, should they need it. We need to establish first-class, center of excellence for managing the spent fuel and final repository of the waste. So we will be happy to do that in working with Russia. The problem with waste, as I see it right now, that we don't have yet a single operating facility. We need to see one. Ideally, that facility would be multinationally operated to deal not only with safety, but also with security and non-proliferation.
Dr. Garwin, before you leave the microphone, what do you think? Does this seem feasible to you? I know you...
Oh, I think this is an excellent innovation for the assured fuel cycle, both a multilateral and international supply of fuel and a guarantee of the place to dispose of fuel to eliminate the very uneconomical reprocessing by individual states or national repositories instead of an economic and secure global repository system. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mark Harris from the Air Force Fellows Program. In a recent article, Graham Allison proposed using either nuclear forensics or effectively nuclear fingerprinting to try to discourage the transfer of nuclear materials to non-state actors. Do you consider this idea to be either technically or politically feasible to, in effect, ask states to register their fissile material?
We have lots of fingerprints of many material around the world. So my just off-the-cuff reaction, yes, it is doable. How, in fact, can we do it everywhere? That's a question I need to check with my colleagues. But we have a lot of fingerprint of many materials. So for us at the IAEA, we know sometimes through reading the fingerprints where this material is coming from. So it's an idea which I think is doable, but I need to verify that.
So the idea would be if there was a terrorist incident, we could trace the material back
where the material is coming from. Exactly. Exactly. And by just having a specimen of each material, fingerprints. Yeah.
Miles Pomper from Arms Control Today. Congratulations again on your award. You talked a little bit about the 3 countries that are outside the NPT and how you might involve them in the non-proliferation regime. The Bush administration claims to have done that recently with India by concluding a nuclear cooperation agreement with India that they'd like to see Congress and the Nuclear Suppliers Group act on. You, surprisingly to many people, seem to endorse that agreement, given that it went back on a history of dealing with India and its status outside the NPT. So first of all, I'd like you to explain why you were supportive of the agreement. And also perhaps you could talk about what kind of safeguards or what other means might be used to make this a better agreement as the details go forward.
Thank you.
On India, I think I would like to recall that when I came here in 2002, I made a plea that India, Pakistan, and Israel should be treated as partner and not as a pariah. So I was three years ahead of the Bush administration on this issue. I tell you why I'm supporting of the Indian, because as I just mentioned, India, Pakistan, and Israel, in my view, are not going to come to the NPT through the normal route. This is a reality. When we develop a policy vis-a-vis India or Pakistan or Israel, it has to be comprehensive policy. India, for example, with the US, have the closest policy cooperation in all areas of activities except in the peaceful application of nuclear technology. When I judge that agreement, I judge it, does it enhance safety? And the answer is yes, because India is going to build so many reactors, and I'd like to make sure that they will get the highest level of advanced technology. Is India going to open up to the agency and the international community for safety oversight? Yes, they would. Is India going to help in becoming part or associate itself with a supplier group and help us to make sure that no new countries are going to acquire nuclear weapons? Yes, the answer is yes. Is India going to separate its fuel cycle between the military and the civilian and accept IAEA safeguard on their civilian reactors, which is a good beginning to our universalization of safeguard? Yes, it is. So I take an absolutely practical, pragmatic approach. I don't see that in any way as giving India a new status as a weapon state or a non-nuclear weapon state. For me, India, Pakistan, and Israel are weapon states. At least 2 of them have declared to be weapon state. And I said that a couple of years ago. The idea that they are de jure or de facto, to me, is totally irrelevant. If there is a war, nuclear war between India and Pakistan, we are not going to say this is not a nuclear war because we do not recognize them as. I mean, I need to see concrete measure, how to bring these guys on board. India is 1/6 of the world, 1 billion people. I'd like to make sure that they are partners in the area of safety, security, and non-proliferation. And I think that agreement, properly managed, would take us some way forward.
Alexei Arbatov, Russian Academy of Sciences, Carnegie Moscow Center. How would you deal with the problem created by the precedent of North Korea, a country acquiring materials, technology, and expertise under the NPT, then withdrawing and going for nuclear weapons?
Well, you need to do, I mean, North Korea is a perfect example of how we should not manage the non-proliferation regime. Well, North Korea joined the NPT in 85 and only signed safeguard agreement in 92. So they had 7 years, being part of the NPT without an inspection. We reported North Korea to the Security Council in 1992, and as I said, nothing has happened. And when I talk about Security Council engagement, it doesn't have to be sanction or what have you, but just actual engagement, trying to understand what needs to be done. And I think Joe mentioned at the very beginning that when you talk with nuclear program, whether in Korea or in Iran, you are really dealing with the tip of the iceberg. You need to address a package of measures, security, economics, humanitarian. At the end of the day, you need to make the country feel secure enough that they do not feel the temptation or the drive to develop nuclear weapons. So there's a lot of lessons one can learn from North Korea, and I think the more we look at it, the more we see that A, we need to take compliance seriously, that B, we need to understand not the symptoms, but not deal only with the symptoms, but also with the causes. And C, we need to send a message to the Korean of the world that nuclear weapons are not going to help you because this is not the way we want to protect ourselves in the future.
That's terrific. I'm afraid we're out of time now. Let me ask you one last question. When do you pick up your prize?
I pick up my prize on the 10th of December, and I'm supposedly going to be on Oslo and Stockholm for 5 days of festivities and lots of lectures.
Great. Well, that's just terrific. We've posted your prepared remarks on the conference website at proliferationnews.org. We are being filmed today by a number of cameras, including C-SPAN 2. So this encounter will be enjoyed by hundreds of thousands around the world. Please join me in thanking the Director General and the winner of the 2005 Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you. Just wonderful. Thank you very much.